Good day to everybody. I'm Father Kennedy Pereraa. I'm thankful to my senior professors Kennedy Gudamardana and Professor Veerapan Banda. My topic is today impact of social capital on educational achievement, an empirical study of fisherfolk's children in Negambo's seabed. Bit of outline presentation, the background, the research gaps and the problem statements, research questions, research objectives, theoretical foundation, then the literature review, which will lead to the conceptual framework. The background of the study goes as because this has two aspects. One is the theoretical background as well as empirical and practical background. My dear friends, with regard to the social capital and the educational achievement of the children, the family background or the role of the family plays a vital, very important role. According to Bowles and Gentis, the key success of children's education or career is families, parents, and especially the environment of the family. H. Kim explains the same as the primary resource of social capital formation is also influencing social capital as well as the family, especially their children. So the family plays another vital role here, but there are other cultural variants including community reliance and family agency that could potentially invite unexpected results playing in between. Studies on educational stratification have demonstrated that the family plays a vital role on the educational achievement of the children. Therefore, Bowles and Gentis proves and shows, Erickson and Jensen, that those who have a family background which is advantageous, which is rich in culture, which is full of vigor and standard high in social capital, their children have a better wicket to play, better chance to get flourished in education. On the other hand, the families with poor and disadvantaged background they continue to the next generation their educational standards and disadvantage, being born to a less fortunate family. In the bourgeoisie system of Karl Marx and Rahner, they also prove this in the reproduction theory, where the bourgeoisie or the rich family background, they continue to the next generation and reproduce their background for their children, whereas the poor labor community reproduce their background for their children. So therefore, this is proved. Socio-economic status in Sri Lanka, taking especially the educational inequalities and especially social and economic inequalities, we see a similar kind of observation that what the family, what their resources, unequal distribution, socially and culturally, will carry to the next generation. Based on the experience of the author for several years in these areas in the sea belt, and also their results especially, taking and studying their results in the based on the මෙතන ඉඳලා මේකේ කමන්නේ ඊට පස්සේ දැන් විනාඩි කීයද 4යි හොඳයි. Human beings have multiplied. In all the other areas, rest of the country, if you take the suburb areas, people have at least infrastructure being developed. In these areas, even the infrastructure, then whose fault? At the same time, if you take their results from the examination departments, especially for the last 10 years, of those children, hardly any achievement. Hardly any achievement. It's pathetic to see that their system is such that nobody who are responsible are paying hardly any attention, especially with regard to their social, economic, cultural, human inequalities. Sometimes I feel there are two authorities we have to do research and find out what is their stand. The religious authorities, their schools remain the same, the rich schools becoming richer, and these poor area schools coming down and the dropout rate. And the religious authorities, do they really pay attention, or they keep the eyes closed due to their own comfort? Then the government and the other authorities, are they aware of this fact and of these children? Is there a need for them to elevate their standards of education? Is a matter. Anyway, the current research examines educational achievement by rooting it within the mainstream argument of social capital. So, without pointing the finger, let us move on to their situation remains the same. You can see the student who was there 20 years ago, now a traditional fisherman instead after 20 years. People haven't even moved out of their community. Not sometimes seen Colombo being in Nigambo. There are therefore evident research gaps. We have to lack of evidence, especially of the literature, especially the social, economic and cultural challenges faced by the children. What are they? We have to identify. Then we have to investigate their academic performance, take in the last 10 years results. Also their social relationship with the social capital and educational achievement, what this social capital has to do with what kind of impact they have this on educational achievement. Therefore, we come to a problem statement: to what extent does the social capital affect educational achievement of these children of the fisherfolk families? Research questions are therefore addressing the research objective are these. Then research objective is identified as social, economic and cultural inequalities, as well as their achievements academically and statistics, and their interaction effect between the social capital and education. Theoretical foundation of the social capital, of course, is very complicated due to few factors. One is it is a later development concept. So therefore the authors, the writers, researchers have no common consensus. They don't agree on the sometimes interpretations or details of the interpretation. There are variations. On the other hand, the first it referred some time ago without knowing the concept in 1900, then 1916 by an American author, Hannifin, who used this concept of social capital in relation to the school environment, but hardly any evidence to say that it is the same concept that the authors earlier had of the authors of the present age. Anyway, Coleman, Bourgeois and Putnam. Then about the social capital theory, we have the foundational authors. Then the supportive theory, social reproduction theory, we take of Bourgeois, and social stratification theory of Bourgeois, stakeholders theory of Freeman, because it is the participants who are involved in and important, and also actor networking theory of Latour is important. In the literature review, the social capital as an influential factor for children's educational achievement was firstly taken by Coleman, but we must not mix up. There were so many authors before, like Hannifin in 1960, an American author, but whether he had the same idea what present authors have, is a question mark. The concept was not developed at that time. Definition of social capital according to Coleman. Social capital is defined by its function. It is not a single entity but a variety of different entities with two elements in common. It is first the aspect of social structure. Then also that will facilitate the actors, those who are in the structure, action of the actors. So, is for Bourgeois, followed by Coleman, having a different view about sum of resources. For him, it is a sum of resources, maybe actual, maybe virtual, but maybe individual is mainly for individualistic theory, but also as a network, that is a durable network, more or less institution-like relationships of mutual acquaintance and recognition. Literature summary is about especially the levels of the social capital is very important. To which level we are referring to which level is relevant to educational achievement is very important. So we recognize micro, meso and macro level. Micro level mostly the individualistic approach, maybe the family or the individuals in the school, and the meso level, the community or the group concept is important. Then also macro level, the society at large and the nation. Then in these, what is relevant to us is only these levels that will affect the social capital dimensions with regard to education. Therefore, the individual is directly involved in, family is directly involved in, school is directly involved in, and the immediate community. Immediate community is directly involved in. Of these dimensional, especially these relational dimension where the trust, relationship and the concern and the support is, then the structural dimension, networks and involvement, especially the structure starting from the family, immediate society, then the school and the community around. Then cognitive dimension is where kind of a shared vision, where shared understanding of the groups, maybe the language they speak or the values they heard, but shared educational goals, expectations as such. Social capital and educational achievement, family and educational achievement, school and educational achievement, and community, which involves in social capital once again. Conceptual framework, therefore, in the research embraces Bourgeois, Putnam and Kim and Coleman social capital concept of the family. First hypothesis, where the parental socio-economic status, relational dimensions of the parents, and the structural and cognitive of the parents or the family. Then the school has to play a vital role, as well as the community, whereas a moderated hypothesis, school level characteristics of course, which play between the community and the family, or the society and the family, and how it will affect the educational achievement. Conclusion, we can see we have to pay a serious attention, especially by those who are involved in learners, teachers, principals, parents and policymakers about the educational achievement and the social status of these fisherfolk families and their children, and also the impact of the social capital, how far it has an impact on the educational achievement of the children. Thank you very much. I am once again thankful to ICBM as well as the senior professors Kendi Gunawardana and Professor Veeraporn Bhatt.